Good afternoon and welcome back to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. We've been coming to you live from the market site for our special veterans coverage. Joining me for this segment is David Smith with Military Times, Chris Perkins with Citigroup, and we have Wesley, DeMauro, and Chris Byrne, both with JP Morgan Chase. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me at the market site. And David, we're going to kick it off with you. How do companies benefit from hiring veterans?
Well, veterans bring in a level of discipline and an approach that's both structured, but also disciplined to the marketplace. You can count on them. They're top performers. They oftentimes have experienced things far above and beyond the ordinary civilian population that really steels them to any kind of challenge. So extremely responsible. And just a phenomenal workforce, really an amazing set of individuals.
Do you think companies that have a strong veterans program generally outperform the market?
Without question, and that's one of the things that we actually found out with Vets Index is that that is in fact the case.
And what other ways do veterans help the companies outperform on the bottom line?
I think that in general, I think there's a sense of service and a sense of commitment to community that you find that's a really remarkable trait among service members. And I think that that's another way that service members aid a company in thinking outside the box and thinking in a way that is about the greater good.
So Chris, with your military service, what are some skills that you brought over into the financial corporate world?
Right, so I was an artilleryman in the Marine Corps, and when I started interviewing, they said, hey, what can you do for us? And I said, my job in the Marine Corps was to make timely and accurate decisions, a lot of quantitative stuff, and also manage risk. Isn't that what you do? And at the time, that was exactly what they were looking for, and it translated. I think on top of that, we bring a lot of the things that you just can't teach, right? And as people, it's something that we can always teach transitioning veterans the technical side of things, but we can't teach them the things that they bring to the table.
All right, and Wesley, is there a story that you can relate from being in the military and how you applied some of those skills to something that happens at JP Morgan?
Sure, and I think David hit on it with that dedication to duty, really, and that's what you get out of the military. So coming up in tough environments, but being able to make really quick decisions, doing it smoothly. That along with a number of other skill sets. So
I think being able to keep that calm and putting things into perspective and keeping it relative, I would imagine that helps as well. And Chris, I'm 100%. Also going to ask you, did you have any difficulties making the transition from military life to the corporate world? And what's the best advice you can give to someone who is starting in that path now?
When someone has made the choice that they're going to leave the service, I think they really need to be deliberate and do as much fact-finding as they can. I think one of the biggest challenges that service members see is they really don't know what they don't know. There's a lot of information out there about industries. They might think they have an inclination to go in one direction. They end up getting in there and saying, you know what, this isn't really what I thought it was. So taking the time to do the proper research prior to leaving the service and accepting that job in the next role.
All right, well, thank you all very much for your service. And David, I'm going to wrap it up with you. What can companies be doing better to support our veterans?
I think we found that having a veteran recruitment specific approach, having a culture that's welcoming to veterans, and having a culture that actually teaches the company about service and about the military writ large, I think is an important component to a veteran-friendly company. Having companies that support the National Guard and the Reserves, which is an important component of the military today, and that kind of support is something that we factor greatly into the Military Times Best for Vets Index. As well as a company that recognizes the role that military families play as well, and so that a family serves, and so as coming into transition, it's a family issue, not just simply a veteran issue. So really having a veteran-specific recruitment and retention and support program, I think, is the critical factor.
All right, well, thank you very much for joining us at MarketSite, and thank you, as always, to our U.S. servicemen and women. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.